What's going on? What's going on, people? Checking in. Y'all already know what it is today. It is college football Saturday, and I got two games I'm gonna get into for y'all. I got Clemson versus Georgia and Miami versus Alabama. I'll give y'all a little preview, my little preview that I did. You dig what I'm saying? So here we go. Without further ado, we're gonna start with Clemson versus Georgia. Starting with Clemson on offense. Clemson returns 5 starters on offense. The strengths for Clemson for me on offense would be the quarterback, the receiving corps. Clemson receiver corps is big. Like I think they're gonna be back to like normal Clemson here. They only got one player listed in there too deep that's shorter than 6'1". Everybody else is 6'1" and up, and that's for tight ends as well too. A weakness for Clemson's offense, I think, this year is going to be the running game and / experience. They do have Lynn J. Dixon in at running back this year. He played a little bit last year, but he wasn't much with Etienne being there last year. And they're just young, man. You know, they lose the running back to Florida. They lose Ches Malusi to Wisconsin. So they don't have a lot of experience in the running game. So we'll see how that plays out. That's a weakness for the offense there, at least from how I feel. You dig? But key players on offense for Clemson, quarterback DJ Uyunglele. My tongue probably got stuck somewhere saying that, but DJ, running back Lynn J. Dixon. Wide receiver, this was big for them. Justin Ross coming back for a senior season after being injured last year. So we'll see what Justin can do this year. And tight end Braden Galloway is another one. As for defense, Clemson is returning 9 starters on defense, which is pretty dope. The strengths of the defense is going to be the defensive line play, also DB play and their experience. A weakness for me this year with Clemson on defense would be linebacker play. I don't know if any of those guys are as proven as Clemson has had in the past as far as linebackers go, but we would definitely check it out and see. Key players on the defense would be defensive end Miles Murphy. He was one of the team leaders in sacks last year. Linebacker Balin Spector, he was actually pretty good last year as well too. Cornerback Andrew Booth. Safety Nolan Turner. Nolan Turner was everywhere last year, man. He was one of the top 3 in tackles. I think he was up there as well in tackles for loss, if I ain't mistaken. He was the leader in interceptions, if I ain't mistaken, as well. So Nolan Turner is a big name too. Also cornerback Fred Davis as well for Clemson. Now let's move it over to Georgia. On offense, Georgia has 8 returning starters. The strength for Georgia's offense is going to be offensive line play. And the running back room, man. I mean, Georgia is laced at running back, man. When you think about Zamir White, Dalvin Cook's little brother, James Cook, and they got another one too that I can't bring up as of right now. But the running back room and offensive line play is going to be big for Georgia. A weakness for Georgia, I would say the passing game with JT Daniels, man. JT Daniels hasn't done enough for me to say, yeah, I can put him in, and if need be, he can win a game for us. So I'm gonna say the passing game is still what lacks, is the biggest weakness for Georgia. Some key players on Georgia's offense is quarterback JT Daniels, running back Zamir White, their whole running back room, and their leader wide receiver coming back from last year, Kearis Jackson. So look out for those guys. On defense, Georgia returns 6 starters on defense. The strengths on their defense is going to be D-line play and linebacker play. Front 7 for Georgia is just stacked. I mean, stacked beyond stacked. This is normally what we see from Georgia is a good defensive line and some good linebackers behind them. Weakness to me this year is the secondary. I know they did get Darion Kendrick from Clemson to transfer over. He might have been Clemson's best cornerback last year. But outside of Darion Kendrick, man, this cornerback group, man, I mean, they got torched a couple times last year. This secondary got torched a couple times last year. They are bringing some guys back from last year, so we'll see how they adjust this year, especially with a big game starting off against Clemson. Key players on the defensive end for Georgia, I have defensive lineman Jordan Davis, linebacker Channing Tyndale, linebacker N'Kobe Dean, safety Lewis Sign, and cornerback Darion Kendrick are my key players on Georgia for defense. For Clemson, 3 keys to victory for Clemson. Number 1, Clemson has to establish the line of scrimmage. Clemson's offensive line did not do a good job in creating run holes for Etienne last year, as he had one of his, I think Etienne had one of his worst seasons as far as rushing yards last year behind his offensive line. So we'll see what they do, but they have to establish the line of scrimmage, being that Georgia's front 7 is so good this year. So if they don't establish the line of scrimmage, if they can't move the ball, if they can't protect DJ Young if they can't protect him, then I don't see Clemson being efficient in this game. Second key to victory: unleash the beast, and the beast I mean DJ Young one of them names. Clemson has to unleash him, and what I mean by unleash him is that Clemson has to use this guy like Auburn used Cam Newton, or like Florida used Tim Tebow back in the day. You need to see a lot of read options, a lot of quarterback power runs and stuff of that nature. Move the pocket, get him outside the pocket. But he has to be unleashed in this game in order for them to win. He has to be successful, and in both the run and the pass. And another one is stopping the running game when they're on defense. Clemson has to stop Georgia's running game. If Clemson stops Georgia's running game, I think it is almost guaranteed that Clemson wins this game if they stop Georgia's running game. It's just, I don't like Georgia's passing game, so long as Clemson can stop Georgia's running game, I think that kind of piggybacks off establishing the line of scrimmage on the defensive side. So that's the third key for Clemson. As for Georgia, 3 keys to victory. The defense has to win this game for Georgia. I don't see Georgia's offense with JT Daniels putting up more than 30 points. So the defense is going to have to hold Clemson to a very, very, very small point total. They're gonna have to give DJ some looks he hasn't seen before, stop Clemson's run game, make them throw the ball against them, and hope for the best. The running game must be true for Georgia. That's my second key to victory. The running game must be true. Georgia has to lean on Zamir White, Cook, and those guys to win this game for them on the offensive side. They have to lean on those guys to move the chains. They have to lean on the offensive line, which is a strength of theirs, to open up holes and to give JT Daniels time if they are put in pass situations as well. And the last one is JT Daniels has to make plays with his arm, man. I mean, that's just a big thing, man. JT Daniels has to show that he can win a game with his arm if Clemson is able to shut down the running game, or if they're put in any passing situations. He has to complete passes, look accurate, look confident, and they got to make some plays down the field in the passing game. But JT Daniels is the last key to victory for Georgia for me. Key matchups in this Georgia versus Clemson game. Georgia's secondary versus DJ and Clemson's wide receivers. Like I said, I think Clemson's starting like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" wide receivers or something like that, and they only have one that's under 6'1" that is in their 2 deep on their depth chart. So only one receiver out of all the receivers listed are under 6'1", so they're big guys. Big receiving corps, big tight ends, 6'5", 6'6" tight ends. So I'm just curious to see how Georgia's secondary, who has some holes. I mean, like I said, they did get Darion Kendrick from Clemson to come over. They do have some guys back like Lewis Sine and stuff like that. But the secondary versus Clemson wide receivers is going to be one of the key matchups that I'm looking forward to watching and seeing who can come out on top of that matchup. Another one will be Clemson's front 7 versus Georgia's running game. Clemson's front 7 is not that good, especially with linebackers. I like Clemson's defensive line. They're very talented among defensive line. I just think linebackers, they're a lot more unproven than a lot think. But I like Clemson's defensive line for sure. But Clemson's front 7, the front 7, the linemen and linebackers versus Georgia running game, because we know Georgia wants to come out and pound that ball. And if they don't have to put the ball in JT Daniels' hands, I don't think Georgia wants to. I think Georgia would like to come out, and if they can run for over 150 to 200 yards as a team, I think Georgia deems that successful. So that is another key matchup. And now for my prediction. Drum roll. drum roll. My score prediction, I have Clemson winning this game 31-20. I do not believe in Georgia's offense, and I think that Georgia's offense not being able to be productive is going to cause Georgia's defense to be less productive as well, which means that I have Clemson coming out on top 31-20 in a close game for 3 quarters, and then Clemson takes over in the fourth. You guys let me know what you guys think about this first game, Clemson versus Georgia. And now on to the next game. And for the next game, we have the Miami Hurricanes versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. Y'all know how I feel about Miami personally, but all personal feelings aside, I'm going to give you an honest opinion on this game here, so let's get into it. Let's start with Miami. Miami on offense is returning 10 starters. Strengths to Miami's offense is going to be running game and quarterback run, running game / quarterback running game, tight end play, and offensive line play is what I think is going to be the biggest strengths of the offense. The running game with the 3-headed beast that they have back there, Chaney, Harris, and Knighton. Also add in De'Aaron King, even though I know Miami probably doesn't want him doing too much running in this game since it's going to be his first game back from that injury last year. But I do think those are some strengths for those guys. Weaknesses. Wide receiver production. Wide receiver production was a weakness last year, and I'm going to count it as a weakness this year until I see otherwise. If I'm not mistaken, I think Miami led FBS in drops last year. So these guys just got to produce, man. I mean, they got the offensive line, they got the run game, they got the quarterback. It's just up to the wide receivers now to produce. They got the tight end. It's just up to the wide receivers. Offensive line depth. I don't see a lot of depth on this offensive line outside of the starters. The starters are pretty good. They if I'm not mistaken, they're bringing every single starter back from last year, if I'm not mistaken. So the starters are very good, and all the videos and stuff and podcasts and interviews I've watched on Miami, there's not a lot of praise going to that second group of offensive linemen. So offensive lineman depth would be a definite another weakness. Some key players on the offensive end for Miami, of course, quarterback De'Aaron King, the running back room, Cameron Harris, Chaney, Knighton, newcomer wide receiver Charleston Rambo. I think he can be an X factor. I think he can take this wide receiver group to the next level if he plays well. Tight end Will Mallory. Old lineman Zion Nelson. If I'm not mistaken, Zion is going to be starting at left tackle. That's why I have him on here, and I don't have the other guy. I can't remember his name. I really don't like Miami like that, but I have him on here because he's going to be starting at left tackle, and left tackle is going to be crucial in keeping De'Aaron King upright and at least keeping him in the pocket and not having him to have to run from pressure all day. And yeah, so for offense, I really like Miami on offense. I really like them on offense. I think they can be extremely solid. Like I said, their success is going to be on the wide receiver production. If the wide receivers can produce alongside the running backs and the quarterbacks and offensive line, I think Miami's offense can be top notch this year. On defense, they have 9 starters returning on defense. Defensive strengths I see the defensive tackles and the inside run game, and the secondary play. DB plays is a strength of Miami's this year. They got some guys back. They added Tyreek Stevenson from Georgia, so he should be able to give them some boost them as well in the back end of the defense. As far as weaknesses on the defense. Pass rushing. These guys lost a lot in pass rushing from last year. And linebacker play and DN play. Can Zach McLeod live up to the billing? I know he made the move from linebacker to DN at some point last year, and that he's getting the start at DN this year. And linebacker play. I don't know if I've been as unsure about linebacker at Miami as I am this year. Miami's always usually stacked at linebacker, and they always usually have really good line. Y'all could have told me my lips was ashy. They always have really good linebacker play. But this year I just don't. It just doesn't register with me as them having great linebacker play. And again, this is going off of last year and stuff like that. We don't have any games or anything to go off this year, so this is just a prediction, guys. But linebacker play seems to be a weakness. Key players on the defensive end for Miami. Defensive tackle, Nesta Jade Silvera. Linebacker, Corey Flagg. Cornerback, Tariq Stevenson. Safety, Bubba Bolden. These are just some guys I picked from every level of the defense that are going to be key players that you should watch out for. Now, let's move on to the mighty Bama, Alabama Crimson Tide. On offense, Alabama is returning 3 starters. The strength of Alabama on offense is the running back room and young talent. The running back room for Alabama is always Alabama with the running back room, and now that they have Trey Sanders healthy, that just helps out with Brian Robinson being a senior as well, too. Big bruising back. I think Alabama's running back room is going to be very good and young talent. Weaknesses for Alabama on offense is youth and experience. Like I said, only turning 3 starters. Not a lot of experience on offense. The offensive line took some hits last year in the draft and as well as graduation. And wide receiver depth. We don't know much about these wide receivers here outside of Mechie. So we definitely have to see what's going on wide receiver wise with Bama, but I think those would be the weaknesses if we had any on Alabama's offense. Key players: quarterback Bryce Young, left tackle Evan Neal, tight end Jaleel Billingsley. Jaleel Billingsley is listed as 3rd on the depth chart at tight end. He is probably their best tight end, but he's been in the doghouse from what I heard with Nick Saban. So we'll see if he'll be able to come out. I do know Cameron Latou is getting the start. But I think Jaleel Billingsley, if he can get out of that doghouse, he has the potential to be a very, very good tight end. Running back Brian Robinson, and Ohio State transfer wide receiver Jamison Williams. I think behind Mechie, he can come in and make an instant impact and help bring along that wide receiver depth that I was talking about as a weakness for Alabama. He can also bring some things to the table there. Very fast. I think he's starting on the kick return team, if I'm not mistaken. So as the main kick returner. So very, very fast guy. I like Jamison Williams a lot. As for defense for Alabama, Alabama's defense returns 8 starters. The strength of this defense is going to be their secondary play, their linebacker play, and their run defense. I mean, this defense is stacked. Alabama's defense is stacked this year, returning 8 players, only losing 3 from last year, and they are stacked. I mean, the secondary is all intact, if I'm not mistaken. The linebackers are all intact. The only place they lost players at was on the defensive line. But this run defense is going to be Alabama run defense. It's going to be that way. As for weaknesses, pass rushing is the only weakness that I could come up with for Alabama. Not a lot of guys that are going to get to the quarterback. Alabama plays a 3-4 defense. So in that 3-4 defense, their defensive linemen are huge guys. They're not real like edge defensive linemen that are going to get you with the speed rush off the end or anything like that. So I would say pass rushing is kind of my question mark going into this game for Alabama's defense. Key players for these guys is DN Phil Mathis, linebacker Christopher Allen, transfer linebacker from Tennessee, Henry To'oTo'o, who I think he might take this defense over the top. Linebacker Christian Harris, cornerback Josh Jobe, and safety Jordan Battle. These guys are elite. This is going to be an elite defense. Great game coming up here. 3 keys to winning the game for Miami on offense. Establish an effective run game. Miami is going to have to establish an effective run game, and if that means mixing in a few quarterback runs for De'Aaron King or some scrambles by De'Aaron King or something, getting the running backs involved, maybe some quick screens to the outside, or something, but they're going to have to establish an effective run game or short yardage game against Bama to keep the chains moving. Number 2, protect De'Aaron King. If Miami fails to protect De'Aaron King and he has to run for his life all night, I think that spells danger for Miami. So Miami needs to make sure this offensive line is ready to block and get and protect this guy because like I said, he is coming off an injury. We don't know how well he's moving and how well things are. Practice and game speed are two totally different things, especially when you're practicing against when you're playing against another team. So yeah, protect the De'Aaron King would be number 2. Number 3 for the keys to win on offense: attack, attack, attack. Miami has to attack and attack often. You cannot let Alabama's defense get it comfortable. I think Miami should take a few shots down the field with Charleston Rambo and some of those guys. They're playing wide receiver for Miami. De'Aaron King. These guys are going to need big plays. Miami's going to need big plays, and it's just just the way it is right now. They're going to need big plays to win this game. Attack, attack, attack. Whenever they get Miami whenever they get Alabama on their heels, they have to punish them. They have to capitalize every single time in order to pull off the win. Three keys for winning the game on defense for Miami is make Bryce Young uncomfortable. This is probably going to be his first start, if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to be against a very good team that's bringing back a lot on defense. We know Manny Diaz loves to blitz. He loves mixing in blitz packages and different weird blitz looks. So Miami has to make Bryce Young uncomfortable. As long as they make him uncomfortable, they can win this game. Another key for defense for Miami: plug holes and contain the running game. Being that this is Bryce Young's first start, I think Nick Saban and the offensive guys are going to try to establish a running game often and early. And what Miami has to do with those DTs that they have to plug the holes. They have to contain the running game. Miami cannot have Alabama breaking off 20, 30, 40, 50-yard runs here and there against them. If they plug the holes, contain the run game, that'll make it easier for them to make Bryce Young uncomfortable. And the third and final key for the defense for Miami to win this game is limit the big play and force turnovers. We already know when that fake ass chain come out, Miami gets a little boost in adrenaline, as if we was playing Madden or something. They get a little boost. So if they can limit the big play and force Alabama into turnovers, bring that fake diamond chain out and make it go green around somebody's neck on the sidelines, then I do think they have a chance if they can do that. As for Bama, 3 keys on offense to winning the game: Bama ball, baby. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, pound the ball, beat them up front, and run the ball some more. In order for Alabama to win this game, they just got to control the clock, man. Just play Bama ball, run the ball, run the ball. If they're successful running the ball, and I'm not talking about long runs, I'm talking that Bama ball, that 5, 6, 7, 8 yard hard runs every time they're touching the ball. If they can do that, look out. Number 2, get Bryce Young comfortable early. Meaning, if you got to throw some passes, maybe a quarterback run or something, but get the jitters out of Bryce Young early, because with Miami, like I said, with that confusion that they bring with their blitz packages on defense, if he gets scrambled and is antsy in that pocket, it could cause for some bad plays coming from him. So just making sure that they get Bryce Young comfortable early is going to be a big thing as well. Big plays from the wide receivers. Like I said earlier, wide receiver group is a little unproven outside of Mechie. You do have Jameson Williams coming over from Ohio State, but those guys have to make big plays. In order to get Bryce Young comfortable, guess what? Wide receivers got to make big plays to get the quarterback comfortable. So as long as those wide receivers are making big plays, then Bryce Young should be able to be comfortable. And now 3 keys on defense for Alabama winning it, and that's make De'Aaron King uncomfortable. What else as a defensive coordinator would you want to do to a star quarterback who's coming off of a major leg injury in his first game back? You want to make him uncomfortable. You want to make him move around more than he has to. You want to get him antsy. You want to have him running, and you want to hit him. As long as they can make King uncomfortable, get some hits on him, have him running, I think that bodes well for Alabama. Eliminate the passing game. Eliminate the passing game. Make Miami have to beat you with the running game. We all know Bama's defense's strong suit is run defense. So if they can eliminate the passing game, then guess what? There's nothing else for you to do if you can't pass the ball. So jumping on Miami's passing game, not letting them be able to throw the ball when they need to is going to be big for Alabama. Also for that defense, the last key to winning is generating momentum early. If Bama can generate momentum early, and I mean by a turnover or by a big play or by something like that. They can take over this game. I'm pretty sure Alabama will probably have more fans in the stands in Atlanta, just because of proximity. But generating that momentum early and playing Bama defense and getting after guys and knocking heads and causing fumbles and interceptions and stuff like that can bode well for Bama as well. And now for my key matchups. Miami's O-line versus Bama front seven. We're talking about two experienced groups here. They have a lot of starts in between them, clashing against each other in the trenches. Who's going to win this matchup? Whoever wins this matchup has an inside track on winning the game. If Miami's O-line can hold up and give D'Eriq King time and open up holes for their three-headed monster at running back, then Miami has a great chance. If Bama can close those holes and get pressure on D'Eriq King and make him uncomfortable and eliminate the running game, then of course we know Bama has a chance. So that is one of the key matchups, Miami's O-line versus Bama's front seven. Another key matchup would be Bama's DBs versus Miami's passing game. As I said earlier, the wide receiver depth and wide receiver production has been a question mark for me for Miami. And we know Bama's DBs have been pretty good as of late. Last year they did get torched a little bit here and there, so Miami does have a chance in the passing game. They do have a chance to go ahead and disrupt Bama's defense if they can make some big plays in the passing game. And also, like I said, if Bama can eliminate Miami from passing the ball and Miami can't run the ball, then guess what? It's doomed. So I would say Bama's DBs versus Miami's passing game. And now for the score prediction. Drum roll. My score prediction is I have Alabama winning this game 27-21. I think it'd be closer than the experts think, just because it is the first game of the year. Miami will have a lot of pride and momentum running on the side, but I think Bama's defense is going to be the deciding factor in this game. And I would probably think this game would be a little bit closer. I may would have went 27-24, but I think 27-21 is a little better. You guys let me know in the comments who you think is going to win these two games between Georgia and Clemson and Miami and Alabama. And tomorrow I will have my FSU versus Notre Dame preview up. Y'all be blessed. Have a good one. Stay safe.